Hello, and welcome to my review for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Trying to get more of these movie reviews done because I see them against my will sometimes. But this one I actually wanted to see. Uh, and I just want to get something out of the way real quick. This is something I feel a lot of people don't care about anymore. Uh, this movie is not appropriate for children, and every time I go to see a Marvel movie now, I am deeply disturbed by the number of young children in the theater. Like, I just literally cannot wrap my head around taking a 6-year-old to see any of these. Like, literally, the youngest age I could see for this movie is literally the rating, which is given being PG-13, and then, give about plus or minus a year in age, depending on how mature the person is. This is just something that really annoys me because people just don't care about what they let their children watch anymore. And we wonder why people are so messed up now. All right, now off of my moral soapbox, I'm actually going to talk about the movie now, I suppose. And this is going to be like really fast. And there will be spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers, just go watch the movie and then come back here if you feel like it. This is the third movie in the Guardians of the Galaxy series. And honestly, it did not disappoint. It's just about as good as the first two in almost every way, but a few, mainly being the music and pacing. This movie, like the other two, uses a lot of licensed music in many scenes, but this time around it started to feel like they just grabbed a bunch of music and slapped it in about every other scene. And I started to feel like I was being beaten over the head. And a byproduct of this problem is most of the songs did not feel like they fit the scene they were used in. Like this is the weakest movie in terms of how the music was used and what songs they picked. And now the pacing of this movie, it varied a lot throughout, from really good to a little too slow. Now this is an issue uh, most movies will encounter at longer runtimes, so I'm not really going to go in depth on this issue. But one major reason I think there are pacing issues is caused by how they split the characters up, with Rocket being unconscious for most of the movie. And now let's talk about some fun stuff. And by fun, I of course mean depressing. This movie goes into some really serious themes relating to trauma and grief in a very interesting way by exploring the past of Rocket the Raccoon and his origins. And it also goes into the depression of Peter Quill, and he's dealing with just how many people he's lost in his life. And many more, sadly, many more depressing issues in this movie. And I will be honest, I was on the verge of tears about 3 times this movie. That's not something that happens a lot. And all of them, those times, were during the scenes about Rocket's past. Easily best handled part in the entire movie. Easily the thing that they did the best. And now for some actually fun stuff. I guess, we could talk about depressing stuff all day, but why have fun when we're on YouTube? Uh, yeah, this movie is really funny. About the same as the last two in terms of the humor. Like, the characters really just feel like an actual family that is done with each other's crap the entire time. And there's so many more just like little interactions between side characters. Pretty much this series had the best writing of any Marvel movie in general. There's literally no competition with anything else. Like, it's not just quipping and one-liners and language, even though it has a lot of those. But the jokes are actually thought out a decent amount. This movie did do one thing, however, relating to comedy that I thought was a little stupid. They threw the F word in just because they could. Since it's PG-13, you get one F word and you can just throw that in. Uh, Personally, I didn't want them to throw it in at all because I'm just that type of person that doesn't like harsh language in movies, even though many people don't consider it harsh language at this point. And even though I don't want them to do it, In all honesty, they wasted any comedic potential it could have had. They just threw it in there because they could. All right, now this movie really had some really good CGI, which is surprising considering how bad some of the recent MCU projects have been turning out, since their animators are working in a sweatshop almost, just cranking out shows and movies left and right. It's like there's a new thing every other week. So yeah, major props to the CGI department on this one. They did really good. I suppose I should talk about the villain of this movie a bit, since he is an egomaniac with a god complex, and I have some experience in this area. The god part, not the egomaniac part. He's called the High Evolutionary, and he created Rocket and many other animal hybrids and cyborg chimera creatures, all in an attempt to create the perfect society with no violence. The batch Rocket was in was purely an experiment and not intended to join the new world as they were promised, leading Rocket to help break his friends out, only for the High Evolutionary to kill everyone but Rocket. And because of this, Rocket greatly injures the High Evolutionary's face in a scene that many would find deeply disturbing, I'm sure. I did. I found it deeply disturbing. And later it's shown that he has been wearing a face mask to hide the damage he received, which is also a greatly disturbing scene. On his new planet called Counter Earth, he has made a species of human animal hybrids almost, but they have become violent over time and started doing things humans on Earth do, which is basically the big problem he was trying to avoid. So he's decided to destroy everything and start over with a new species. His plan, however, requires Rocket's brain, since Rocket was his only creation that could come up with new ideas for some reason. I don't know the logic behind that one. Rocket was the only smart creature he created. Eventually, this all culminates in everyone working for the High Evolutionary realizing he's insane and that he almost sees himself as a god. Another major part of this movie is dealing with the new version of Gamora that now exists, because she's from the past and has no memory of any events of the first two movies because time travel. Uh, but this allows Peter to gain some level of closure that he hasn't been able to get, and thankfully so, because he has just been a punching bag the last two movies he's been in. Uh, yeah, eventually this allows him to move on and realize he has been running his whole life from losing people close to him, giving him the idea to finally go back to Earth and reconnect with his grandfather. Decent idea, I think. Ultimately, this movie ends with the Guardians of the Galaxy breaking up and reforming with Rocket as the new leader of a new team. And the best way I can describe this is not the ending we as the fans want, but it's the right ending for the series, is the best way I can say that I feel about this. It gives us bittersweet closure for all of our heroes from the last three movies. And I think that's about all I really wanted to talk about so far. Overall, I'd say this was the weakest movie out of the whole trilogy, but it really delivered on the emotional aspects in a way I forgot that Marvel could be capable of, other than the other two Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Plus, it's still like 100 times better than the average Marvel schlock they're putting out every other week now. Now, again, it still stumbled in a few areas, mostly the music, but as a whole, it is easily going to be the best Marvel anything to come out this entire year. And with that, I give it a 9 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. All of that. I hate doing that. If you have been watching for a long time, you know just how much I hate asking, but apparently it helps. Alright, thank you and good night. Hopefully there's another movie review soon, but I don't want to talk about that movie because it's the live action Little Mermaid. Goodbye.